Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Dale. We're on Yak's been a fantastic show for you. Things are starting to get a bit more spooky. How good is this community after all? And much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow host. She writes and streams for MMORPG.com. Has she tested her new place for proper roar acoustics? Say hello to Robin.
Roar!
Good. Hopefully it lives up.
Yeah, at least it's not echo, echo, echo as like the last time I moved and it took a week for my stuff to arrive. So like it was just an empty apartment. So anytime I talked on the computer, it was like, why does it sound like you're in an empty room? It's like, because I am.
And she does loads of video game content from a multitude of games. The only proof I need is that she is a ruthless, cold-blooded killer and a liar in Among Us. But I don't hold a grudge. Say hello to Kroof.
Hello, everybody. I'm a poet laureate journalist, and I'm here to answer the question if your toilet paper is over or under.
And that's why you need to show up for pre-show.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you can see him talk about all the latest TV shows, movies, and gaming from his own Twitter or with his friends over at Delco Nerd Network. It's been a while since we had him on. Hopefully he isn't too nervous. But don't worry, if this episode is bad, we'll just release the Snyder Cut later. Say hello to Anthony Ragucci.
Nervous? Never. It's been over a year, a little over a year. I looked it up. I was like, it has been a while. So you're right about that. And the first podcast I'm on here where the Snyder Cut is officially a thing. I wish Malthanis was here because I would probably rub it in his face to some capacity. But.
I mean, don't rub it in anyone's faces until it releases. I'm just saying.
Wow.
He was a denier.
What, in its existence or that it's going to be good? Because it hasn't happened yet.
In its existence.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, you can rub his face in that.
I don't think it actually existed. I think they put it together because people kept yelling about it.
That is a good point. Didn't
true.
You say before pre-show that he was filming more scenes? Technically, that means it's not done. It's not. It doesn't exist.
He didn't finish them. He didn't finish his version though, so he actually didn't finish it. But most of it was done.
Oh, okay.
So you're gonna be.
It's another podcast. I don't want to hold us up.
Yeah, I was gonna say. You know. Well, if Jim's watching it, you guys can fight in the comments on YouTube or whatnot.
I'll have to tweet at him or something.
But let us jump right into it. So this past week, we got an announcement that the Shadow of the Mad King will return next week, October 13th, and it will go till November 3rd. Basically, they did put out a trailer. I think it's basically the same one from previous years. At least it seemed like it, even though it was still dated this year. So,
yeah, I saw mounts in it, so it had to have been since Path of Fire. So maybe 2 years.
Yeah,
they typically recycle these trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a large amount of new stuff that they want to show off, there really isn't a reason to make new ones.
Yeah. Sadly. But I mean, are you guys excited for the Halloween
want
event?
the rest of the princess story and like all the other rest of the family. Like,
I was gonna ask, is new content for holiday events something you guys want to see? Because personally, I think it kind of just keeps it fresh, even if it's not like a ton of stuff. Like having something new just kind of makes it like, oh, I want to go play. Because like, to be honest, I think Dad was about to say, you guys like excited, and I'm like, yeah, not really. We've done it like every year for like 7 years. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Now, like having something new would be nice. Not even if it was like a whole new instance or something, but something new would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
With festivals in general, I'm no longer like super entertained by them. I kind of just use festivals as like a mode for my nostalgia, because Heart of Thorns launched around the time of Halloween. So every time I play Halloween, I just kind of do it to kind of relive that almost emotion that I get back in like
nostalgia.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah, even though it was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, but I still find Halloween to be my favorite festival in Guild Wars 2 in terms of like the amount of things that you can do. The other festivals, I typically feel like there aren't as many, or I just feel like I don't want to do them necessarily.
Mhm.
That
I
and
find the Halloween one
that I don't think
better built.
Halloween overstays its welcome, because I feel like
Yeah.
everybody's always excited for Winter's Day, and then it's literally there for what feels like forever. Like by the end, people are like, I
Yeah,
don't
I
even
can
speak
agree with
Winter's
you.
Day to me. But it feels
Yeah.
like by like people are still actively doing things by like November 3rd, for example. And it's like, oh man, why can't it stay longer? But for me, it feels like Winter's Day. They're like, just get rid of it. I don't want to see another snowflake.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, like, I love Winter's Day, but I always get tired of it by the end because I've been working on that stupid, like, shoulder thing for so long, and all I've had left
Oh
is
my
drinking
God.
all the drinks. Like,
Oh my
that's
God, I
all I've
forgot.
had left for like 3 years, I think now. But it's just
Yeah.
like I can only do so much of those things before I'm like, no, I can't. So I don't know how people did it in the first year, like without like seriously like mentally injuring themselves, because like my tolerance for repetition is not that high. So that's for me, that's the main reason why Winter's Day gets old, is because I'm forcing myself to do things so I can get those things. If I was just like with with Halloween, I could just go in and do, what do I feel like doing today? This, the labyrinth, or what was it? I never can remember the name of this dang thing, but it's one of the one that you go in and like, you're ghosty and stuff, and like you're fighting other people and like
Lunatic
Oh,
Inquisition.
I love that one.
Lunatics Inquisition. Is that
Yeah,
it?
the PvP. Yes, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really like that. That's fun and that's cool. So there's little things like that I enjoy, but I don't feel like I have to do it for any particular reason, which I kind of like because it makes it, less like it's bearing down on me kind of thing,
Yeah. The one thing I'm not excited for is just the amount of items and potions and tonics that I'm going to
Yes.
get.
Clog
Right.
your
Like,
inventory until
clear
mutants
all
and-
your
God
back
help me.
space.
I don't know. I have like max of all of the crafting materials. So it's not like I can deposit anything else into my like bank account or like crafting storage.
Right.
So it's just like a continuous, like after a week, I just go through and just arduously like click delete, like manually, or consume items. Cause like some of them you like try to delete them and they're like, please type in 5 words. And you're like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
retype the name. It's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll put it. I'll make a character,
Yeah,
put it
not
all on
worth the
them,
time.
and delete the character.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's
those, I'm
actually
like-
like not a bad idea.
Right. It's just like I don't understand why we can't just type the word delete. Like I feel like just that's enough of a check. than
confirm
actually
or something
typing
like that,
the
yeah.
whole- like especially those ones that are like 10 words long and you're like,
Yeah,
you know?
like Jacko with a comma, lantern, like come on.
Yeah.
What
I've gotten
I've
really
what I've
good
done
at
in the
spelling
past.
experience.
Well, I'll say what I've done in the past is where I would link it, do /wiki and link it, so it would pull it up, highlight it real quick, and then put it in.
Paste it.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a good
Nice.
idea.
Wow.
That's a really good idea. I like that.
So it's
It never occurred to me to do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
so see a perk of the wiki. Yeah, use it for Halloween, so you can delete all that
I
extra
never
stuff.
knew that function.
Yeah.
That's actually really smart.
Wait, you never knew about the /wiki?
I did, but I never ever used it.
Oh yeah, where you
I've
can
never
like
felt
actually
compelled to use it.
/wiki
I use
the
it
item.
very, very rarely. Like if I think about it, I'll use it, but sometimes I'm like already like all tabbed and at the wiki.
Yeah, I'll just opt out and like go to a normal browser.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I might want to look something up. I'm just gonna go wiki. Done.
Yeah, but see, then you would have to type that name again, and then you're on it. So there's a tip there for Halloween and I
Yeah.
guess festivities and.
Now I see there are new rewards. Do we know what the cape looks like?
They did give us
Oh,
an
right.
image. And people think it is. It's not confirmed, but I'm pretty sure because I don't think it's anywhere else. It was on the blog post where you're fighting
Oh.
Steve with the chainsaw.
The staff, like the ghostly staff.
Well, I think that was the previous years where it has like the melted skull thing, but I think that on their back is possibly the cape. I think
Let
that's
me
what some
see.
people are speculating on.
Oh, it could be the cape as well, but I don't remember there being. Is it the ghostly or is that still wax? Because when I looked at that image, I thought it was
might
the
be
wax stuff,
yeah, the
but
wax.
like a ghost spectral. But
Okay.
it could just be the cape. Probably it's just the cape.
Well, it might be smart since they did say that the two items, and I would hope they would throw them both in the screenshot. But so that might be the demon haunted weapons. We don't know, and that might be the lunatic court cape. We don't know.
Yeah, because now that I've returned to the game, like I never really played with capes, so I only have like the Prince Rourke one and the guild stuff I got, and I'm like, I need a cool cape. Like, come back to the gem store, I will buy it.
Okay, chat is saying that is the melty wax ghost weapon, and I wasn't sure if that, because doesn't that have like more dripping on it, which sounds
moist drippings.
So nice.
But
no, it's about that. I think it's at a weird angle, but if you like were to look at it,
yeah,
where it's kind of like more broad,
and that's what I
you'd see
initially
more of
thought, but I wasn't sure because they could have just did a similar looking thing. Is why I was also.
I thought the
to.
color palette was different though. That's why I thought it was like, because they've been doing this thing where they've been taking existing weapons and then creating like a different form of it where you can acquire them through the festival, like the legendary items, the orate skins that you can get at the Queen's Labyrinth or the Crown Pavilion. So I was like, could this be one? I don't know if it is. It doesn't seem like it could be, but that'd be a good idea for maybe next year or something.
Yeah, and they did say you would get these through doing the achievement, so I'm gonna guess that the cape's gonna be like the meta achievement.
Oh, nice. I was thinking it was going to be a gem store. That actually, I will do the meta now if that's the case.
And
100%.
And I think last or previous years they've done with festivals where it's like after you do like 3 dailies worth of stuff, you get like a weapon choice. So it might be through that as well, but who knows? I'm just guessing off of previous festivals, but yeah, for people that don't know, the events that return for this is the Lunatic Inquisition, the Mad King Clock Tower jumping puzzle, Mad King's Raceway, which was fairly new, basically came with POF since, it probably wasn't even the first POF because we didn't have the Roller Beetle yet. I think this is the second year for the Roller Beetle Raceway, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like last year was where it blew up because they nerfed it.
Yeah.
Has it been 3?
I think this is the third year, is what I was going to say.
Is it? Or is it? Did the Roller Beetle come in that long ago?
I feel it.
It couldn't be more than 3, so it has to be max 3.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Okay. Maybe chat knows, and then also the dungeon thing, Ascent to Madness. It is technically a dungeon, but it's basically a one fight type thing. And I do like kind of going off of what Anthony was saying earlier was and I saw a lot of people saying it was, I really wish they would continue with the story of it, or even bring it back for some people, because some people are like, oh, this is gonna be my first Halloween, or I've played it for like 3 years, which you haven't even gotten to play the story portion. It's like
right,
and I think the story pretty much stopped with the 3rd year of the game, because the first 2 years were different like events, like they were like drastically different, and I'm trying to remember if that 3rd year like there was some new stuff, but it wasn't like as much as it it was those last 2.
Was it the was it the 3rd year where they added to the scavenger hunt to get the better back piece, or was that?
That's what that's exactly what I was thinking of.
The flaming. I swear I got the big flaming back piece the first year.
Well, you could get,
there was a lesser version, and then if you kept going further in the scavenger hunt, you got the bigger version.
You could get the green one, was like the lesser one. And then the red flaming, or the orange flaming one, regular fire flames one, was the higher one. But I think later, didn't they do another back piece that was
blue one?
Yeah, it's like ascended or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, and they added some armor and stuff, so that's a good call. So yeah, but yeah, they never really continued with the story.
The wrist things, the chains,
the shackles, yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anyone others, but that one jumped out.
Yeah, they've done some pretty cool ones every once in a while. Like, wasn't it Halloween where they had in the Mystic Forge, you can make that weird, was it scepter or torch or focus or something, where it was like a creature. I don't even remember.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I do know those.
So hopefully we get other ones.
They
of
should
those.
really expand upon that.
Yeah.
Those are really cool and creepy.
Mhm.
That was
Okay,
like the time around Deimos.
Yeah.
And
The
it was just
blood-
kind of like filling this weird, eerie feeling for Halloween. That would have been nice.
The blood print stuff was added in 2013.
Yeah, it was the yeah, because it went Mad King Thorn only stuff because he appeared and burst through Lion's Arch.
Yeah.
Mad King,
Which they didn't announce that was going to happen, which was one of the amazing things. Like nobody knew it was going to happen, and it just happened. We're like, oh my god.
well, yeah, they just basically said be there, and unfortunately, that was one of those times where it was like at like midday for like the
Right.
U.S. So it was like,
And if you missed it, you missed it. Yeah.
yep. And then yeah, the Bloody
They
Prince
should do
was
more of
second
that
year.
stuff.
Yeah, I was always a fan of that. I like, while it sucks you couldn't go back to Living Story season 1, it did have an impact, and I was hopeful that they would continue that stuff, but that kind of
Well, like
went to the
I
wayside.
often miss stuff because it usually came out during the day for us, so I was usually at work. But like, so I was always sad to have missed like those big moments that you just had to be there for. But at the same time, it was really cool that they did that. And I know they got a lot of negative feedback about it, yeah, people missing things and like joining later and hearing about this great thing that they'll never have a chance to experience, which I think is why they moved away from that. But I
Yeah,
do kind of miss that.
Yeah,
think they-
now that you bring it up, there were a lot of those at the start of the game. Like
Yeah.
there really were.
Because if you remember, originally their plan and their idea was that the game and everything would change over time. And if you were there to see the changes in the original one, then you would remember it. But for everybody else, it would just be like, oh, this is what it
it was a living, breathing world. That was always the thing that they
Yes.
pushed out.
Right.
Now it's a cookie cutter formula.
What a
No,
concept.
it's
Living world.
Mesmer time locked zones. Everybody knows that.
Yes.
Hey,
Those
you
damn
guys, this is really
mesmers.
innovative. But
Sit
your
them down.
choices have consequences.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
do they?
Who knows?
I mean, I think the frequency at which they were doing it wasn't smart, but
Right.
I do think that they could still, like, surprise the people actively playing by doing it like once or twice a year, or like something a
Right.
little special for like
Well,
a
I
certain
think-
event.
I feel like part of the problem though is once you do things like that every now and again, people are always like, "When's the next thing? When's the next thing? Oh my god!" You
Yeah.
know,
That's
like,
when you go,
there's
we don't
no,
know. It's
like,
a living,
middle
breathing
ground.
world. It can happen whenever.
We don't know what we're doing.
Well, I
We're
wouldn't
just
say
gonna have
that.
an update when it's ready.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
when
gonna
it's
get
ready.
canceled.
As someone
I'm here to
that,
get canceled.
as someone
today,
that I would
guys.
imagine would have to go through marketing, they're probably like, yeah, let's not go with that line. No, that probably wouldn't be a good
No,
idea. We have no idea
They're
what
just
we're
gonna be
doing.
like,
No.
it's a living world.
Yeah.
But honestly, I am a little
I do
bummed
think
that we
ultimately it was
haven't,
probably good.
and I'm a little bummed that we haven't, even though Winter's Day did get one, that we didn't get a strike mission for Halloween, and I'm still
Yeah.
wondering. If,
Oh yeah.
I mean, that could be
Like-
like a new vehicle for conveying new story is make strike missions, add a new one like every other year, something that has a little bit new story in it.
Mhm.
Dungeons
Mhm.
telling stories. What a concept.
If only they had things like that. They could call them story dungeons. No, that would never work.
No, let's just, I think the better word is fraction.
No.
No, strike missions. No, wait, no, raids. No, we're gonna scrap strike missions.
Yeah, let's just go with
Yeah,
that.
Oh boy.
that's crazy.
I can like feel the comments coming, like the YouTube comments of like the anger.
I feel like
Mhm.
every
do-
time I'm on this
it's so
show, like
strange.
that comes up, like, because I'm a big like, yo, dungeons were great for story. Like, what? Why do we get rid of those?
Oh,
like,
people
okay,
used
maybe-
to hate on them so much though.
I know, like, okay, maybe explorable path wasn't like the greatest idea, but like The stories
like
were
that.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, like I
Your
could be
title.
misremembering, but my recollection of dungeons way back in time. Woo,
Was this in the MMO manifesto? Is that what we have to quote technically?
No, not
Like,
that far
no,
back.
okay.
We don't go that far back.
We don't quote
That
that.
far
Okay.
back is just that's never should have been done things. Um, the
At all.
dungeons originally, like I feel like most aside from the difficulty, because they were pretty difficult initially for most players.
Oh,
Um,
forget about it.
yeah, aside from that, I think most people liked them, but then after you did them a certain amount of times, people just wanted to get through them quicker, and like the
Right.
stories that happened, there were a lot of things where you had to just sit and wait for like the characters or the NPCs to do the things, and you couldn't progress until they did it. And I think that's where they started getting the message that like having these big stories and dungeons weren't necessarily good, especially when you wanted them to be repeatable content, because after you've done it 10, 20 times, you're just like, oh my god, just walk over there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
But
yeah.
I think that issue would have been solved if they just added more in different ones, because then
Right.
it would still remain
Right.
novel.
And that's where
Mhm.
fractals came from. They just
Right.
were
Yeah.
Well,
shorter dungeons.
honestly, I think they did fractals because a lot of people wanted a progression system like other MMOs.
Well,
So they
yeah,
were
they
like
wanted a progression system,
Ascension.
but they also wanted like dungeon type content that they could do in shorter periods of times, like
Oh,
in
okay.
smaller chunks. Because even when you had to do the 3 fractos in a row, it still took less time than most of the other dungeons. I think there are a couple of dungeons that if you were speed running it, you could do it faster, but for most people, the dungeons took more time than even those 3 fractals. They were still pretty quick.
Unlike the festival Halloween one, where if you time it right, you could literally like jump all the way to the bottom.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you had like reduced fall damage traits, like
Mhm.
certain mechanics. But I do think
Yeah.
that they should add another story instance, be it a dungeon or a strike mission.
Right. I wish kind of they
But
would add back the original Mad King dungeon thing that was just him that first year. I think it was just the first year that was his thing where you went in. Like you don't have to necessarily go in the same time, but like if they could add that back in so you could do that or you could do the Mad Prince one, just that
Wait.
would add some variety.
Oh, you mean the
Yeah.
story portion, like the story instance thing? Because I was gonna
Yeah.
say they
Talking
have
about-
Because
the dungeon is the thing with Mad King where he basically challenges you to Mad King says you fight him on the top a little bit, have minions go
Then you
down a
drop
little
down.
bit, fight them some
Yeah.
more, go down a little bit, and but
Oh,
but
okay.
there was the story portion that was basically
Right.
like a
I
personal
was like,
story
I
thing.
thought there was something else that was similar, but it was different. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, and it never
was gonna-
returned.
Yeah, I feel like there was something now that you say it, but like what it was, I can tell you right now.
yeah, there was. I can faintly see what you're talking about. Just it's all been
Implanting my
aged.
memory into your brains. You're
It's
like,
all
yeah,
been
this
like
is a real
I was
thing.
gonna say I feel like I'm in like
by
Never
time.
Neverland. We just need to believe and it will return.
Everybody
I
clap.
mean, Living World Season 1 has yet to be expanded upon, yet they're still
Yeah.
doing that.
I mean, it's
guess.
fading into existence. We believed enough, everybody. We gotta keep going.
I guess. I wonder when the next batch of Living World Season 1 episodes are going to come in.
I think the hardest thing
Or
is
do
trying
you
to
think that
figure
they
out.
should just
Forget about
wait? Do you think they should just wait until End of Dragons and then release it with?
Like
might
it's
be a
been
good
it's been
timing.
so long. I just couldn't see them releasing it. Like it's just like it's been so long,
Yeah.
right? It's just like it's ridiculous at this point. Like if you announce it's just like where were you like 5 years ago? Like doesn't really make much sense.
What are the season 1 things that you can go back and do now? Like I don't remember specifically which ones those were.
Canucks
Due to the
fight.
Visions of the Past,
Yeah.
they implemented Canuck, Bram, Rocks, and I think one other thing, maybe with Scarlet.
Oh,
I think
was
they
it the
added like
Marinette?
4 instances.
No, they didn't bring the
I'm
Marinette
not
back.
sure if it's the Marionette.
People wanted the
I think it was
Marionette
just
as like a
more.
world boss again. Like that was
Yeah.
a really good world boss. It's a shame that like
That was God. That
Yeah.
was
I
Mhm.
remember people yelling and being so angry at each other a lot, but I loved that world boss. That and Nightmare Tower. I think those are my two favorite things from
Nightmare
season 1.
Tower.
See, I wasn't a fan of Nightmare Tower for some reason.
Aw,
It
I
didn't
it was
speak to
so
me.
weird.
I thought
It was so
I
creepy.
never
So
got there,
creepy.
I like the
but I
vibe, just
would
not the
try.
actual thing.
I
Yeah.
like the tower
Mhm.
idea just because I think when we first were like playing it was you could kind of gather people, and it wasn't as you didn't need to be as organized. Whereas I feel the Marionette
Right.
fight was a good world boss just because
Very, yeah.
it wasn't the hardest world boss, of course, but I think you had to be somewhat
Triple
organized.
trouble.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was gonna say you had to be somewhat organized, but if you wanted to go for
Triple
like
trouble.
getting it all in one go, then you had to be even more organized. So I think it was a good middle tier world boss.
Right. Yeah, I just remember with Marionette people arguing over what lane sucked, and this lane was carrying everybody all the time. That's my main
When I
memory
play
of it.
Dragon Stand.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow, the attack on Lion's Arch.
I was gonna
I
say
like kind of like forgot about all that stuff.
honestly, that was the one
Aw.
thing I was hopeful. Like,
That's when I came back to the game
oh,
because
like, but you did
I
get
had
to
actually
play it.
taken a break. Yeah,
Okay,
I played the very first couple updates for Living World Season 1, but then I didn't play Guild Wars 2 for the most, like the entirety of Season 1 basically. I did touch the tower, but I finally came back at Battle for Lion's Arch. And that's when I've stuck with it ever since.
Yeah.
I think that event really just like gripped me, and it was so awe-inspiring and cool.
Mm.
And it my awe lasted for a while, but then they never really did anything like that again.
Right.
yeah, it was
We're
one of
going
the
on a
last
real nostalgia
bigger
trip here.
living story
Yeah.
things.
It's
Yeah,
alright.
yeah, like that age of content is just like a bygone era. Like that stuff never happened again. It is really funny to look back
Well,
and like all that stuff that happened that like I didn't even really like remember until we just brought it up.
Oh.
and
And
see,
it's so strange because it was so well received
Mhm.
for the players who played it, but they were so
Right.
worried. I mean, you could still probably do that stuff and
Mhm.
still have it last and implement it in ways where you can go to the scrying pool now to relive that experience through a strike mission or something or a raid.
well, but even then they were. I mean, they'd have to tone
You're
it
asking
down.
so much.
Well, and even then they were
Not
like they had to
really.
tone it down. My thing is, I think it's probably in the same situation that Sab was, where those maps are so old they just don't work in the code
Right.
now.
Because
But
they've done so
Yeah.
many changes to the physics of the game and how everything works and all of that.
Yeah, maybe. I'm just a Kroof. I'm thinking of it in the perspective. I just don't think ANET would like wants to do that. Like
Yeah.
I really just couldn't see them doing that
well, honestly,
right now.
the one thing I was
Doing what in
thinking of,
particular? Like the continuation of
No, like
that
bringing all
event
that stuff
style or
back
bringing it
in
back?
like a
Oh,
bringing that content back in like a strike mission format or whatever. I just couldn't
right.
see it because
I think that's
I
the
don't know.
only way. Well, it doesn't matter if they want to do it or not. This is ultimately a test of ArenaNet's word because they said even years back that they were bringing it back. It's taken a
Mhm.
while, but they've started. And I think now that they have started, they have to either confess that they're not going to bring it back other than the instances of story, but that wasn't the experience of Living World Season 1.
Right.
And people are
Well,
asking for that, and they've said it. And I think the only way that they logically could do it to do the Battle for Lion's Arch again is to do it through the strike missions
right.
because it is a 10-man scenario. It's especially with Visions of the Past, it was story based, there was bosses and stuff. And I think if they continued with that Visions of the Past formula and just
Yeah.
translated it to the Battle of Lion's Arch and scaled it down, of course,
well,
and
actually,
accordingly,
I don't
Right.
even
less
think they would
mobs
need
and
to do
stuff.
that if they could fix the maps, which is like I said, I think is the real issue in the behind
Fix
the
the
scenes.
maps in what way?
Well,
Did they
like I said,
express that with
the code
something?
breaks. Like it's totally different. Like because I mean, people always said and they've said that it's
They
like spaghetti string code, like, and it
right.
changed
They
so
have
much.
Yeah.
said that they can't just reactivate those maps again for a
Yeah.
variety of reasons.
But
And
honestly,
I think a lot of it is like we were saying, it's they have over the years since then updated so much about the game that isn't updated or taken account of those maps and get those maps working again. I think Deo was saying it'd be the same thing of like what they did with Sab. And I think the only reason why they did it with that one was that was such a loved experience, and it was a big thing for the community as a whole. Whereas I feel like there's a lot of people who would like to see season 1 and care about it, but they don't care about it and enough, if you know what I mean.
And
Like
Yeah.
it's not
and
make or break for
honestly,
them,
I don't think they have to bring
basically.
it back as a strike mission. And I'm gonna kind of couple with what like Chad was saying of like making it a guild mission type thing, because then you could have like keep it the same
You're
number.
not
Like,
allowed to update guild missions. Those are
Oh,
locked in time.
Wait, are you trying to be funny or no? Because like I could see that being a thing, but like I could totally.
there
see it
was a
being
part of me
different.
where I was like, haha, wait, is she? Wait, no, wait, no. Wait.
Right, exactly.
Sorry.
But no, like
I
and this
didn't even
is-
think about that. Guild missions could be awesome too.
Well, and this is one thing I
Yeah,
was
they wanna
hopeful
care about
with
that
that storyline of the Char that was returning with the rift, the different time rift things, and we were testing those, and he was like, I came from 83 days in the future or whatever it was, and nothing
Right.
happened once the 83 days happened. So
Wait,
but-
what is this?
We were all like waiting. We're
remember
like,
it was
something's gonna
it was
happen.
it was an
It's like
Aether
a
Blade Char
ghost-
that was just wandering around
Yeah.
the fields, and he's just like, hey, I
Oh.
basically came from the, and you like test the anomalies and different stuff, and like it kind of really went
This was a
nowhere.
while ago.
But my hope was something like the fractals or the fractal or the mists are going all wonky and stuff, and like time is like melding in on itself, and like what if all of a sudden using the Lines Arch thing, what if it's like an anomaly, a time anomaly just opened up, go through this portal to relive that, like it takes you to a separate version of Lines Arch that just
Right.
takes you into that
That would be
event.
cool.
problem, I think not the problem, but a really big problem is that ArenaNet has an obsession with creating new systems to the point where we can't really definitively like decide on one system that would work better or work best to
Mhm.
re-implement these things, because they have so many things to go with. They have the dungeons, which they've of course scrapped, but it's still there. They have
Mhm.
fractals, they have bounty boards, they have guild missions, they have strike missions, they have raids. They have so many forms of group content where it's made it difficult to kind of like, I don't know,
There's no
reinvigorate. I
focus.
think they could have, yeah, they should have just stuck with dungeons, fractals, and raids. Like
Mhm.
the three main systems of like classic like MMO storytelling and
Right.
group content.
Well, but
Well,
you're saying dungeons,
the
fractals, and raids.
original-
Fractals are basically dungeons, so you're already dividing a
Yeah,
5-man.
But
No, they're not.
dungeons could be used for more story-based instances in terms of, actual story narrative chapters.
Mhm.
Because they
Yeah.
used to implement like, I think it's cool that I think it's actually sad that they didn't do this. But with Path of Fire, I think it would have been cool if they turned some of the areas into proper dungeons where you had a story step where you had to group up with 5 other people and do a story mission for the narrative's sake.
But
Fractals are more of just like an
as soon
offside,
as
like,
you start requiring grouping for story content, a
Ugh,
lot of people
that was
get
the problem
in
with
pissed
an
all-
off.
MMO.
That was the
I
problem with
know!
All or Nothing in for the basically your last step to fight Zaitan,
Right? Yeah.
because that used to
And that's
be
why
basically
they
do
went
the
back and
story
made it
dungeon.
so that you could do it by yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
What a tangent.
well, and I was gonna say,
What a
we started
tangent.
on
Halloween.
Halloween, right?
and it was
Yeah.
just, well, it was
Yeah.
lost content, hopes and dreams, but I, it's reminiscing about all that stuff, talking about our past events, talking about doing it with friends, good people
Mhm.
in the community. Speaking of the community, this past
There
week,
was
I
two
was like,
husbands,
he's segueing. Like,
this past week
such
on
a single
Reddit,
player game.
this past week on Reddit, I did see someone post, Reddit user Sam Descas. I don't know, but they were asking about the Guild Wars 2 community. They said they're new to Guild Wars 2, and I'm doing a bit of research of it. And as their question states, they were curious of how people view the community. And granted, grain of salt, this
I
was on
laughed.
Reddit. and I do mean salt. There was mixed reactions to it here and there. But I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, especially like, Kroof, earlier were saying how you left for a little while. It's like, was the community what brought you back, or like what? Okay, I'm sorry, Arlie, you left too. Jeez.
I left too.
Okay, everybody left.
Oh wait.
Actually,
you're the outlier here, Dale. Why did you stay? Why did they manipulate you? What fear?
Why did I stay?
Suffer
because
from
of
you
community.
felt like you couldn't be an autonomous individual.
I stayed because of community, because I love my
I left
community.
because I was like 11. I had like an attention span of a walnut, and I had
You were
school.
11?
I don't know.
Oh my God! Now I really feel.
Wait.
11.
In 2012, you were 11?
No, actually 20. I was 11 in 2012.
Holy crap!
Jeez, you're a lot younger than me, and I thought I'm usually the youngest one here.
Wait, Arlie, can I do a close up on your face for that one? Like that was a. I just did the math. Ooh.
I think I left when I was like 13 or so.
Jesus Christ! I mean, I was in high school when Guild Wars came out, but at the end of high school, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I was just like, I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. I was
me
just
and
like,
Arlie are both being like,
I was just going
high school.
life.
11, yeah. No.
Yeah, I graduated high school in 2013, so 2012 Guild Wars came out. So it was the summer of senior year.
Guys. we just got Arlie back. Please don't kill her.
Path of Fire came out my junior year of high school.
I
was
literally. I feel like I
school.
need to go find Gail Gray and just sit and drink tea with her and be like, "We're old." Like
I would love to talk to Gail. I remember being like
wonderful.
young and like looking at her as like the matriarch, motherly figure of the community. She just looked like
for sure.
Yeah, she was wonderful.
Who was someone that kind of came from the community and got a more prominent role. So but that was kind of more Guild Wars 1. I mean, do you feel that dynamic carried over to Guild Wars 2, and do you think it's still a good thing in the community?
I feel like we have more. I feel like we have more methods of communication within the community. Like now, like we have the forums, we have Reddit, we have Twitter, we have Twitch. Like there's all kinds of areas for the community to give feedback and like talk to each other, which is good, but it's also terrible because I feel like that's part of what feeds into the whole of, okay, this is what we have now, what's next? Like everybody is just like, I feel like back in the dark ages when internet wasn't so,
Prevalent,
involved and there wasn't so social media everywhere, that like it was more people were more willing to just wait for content and be like, this is what we have now. It's cool, fun. And then like things would appear and you'd be like, oh, new stuff, and like it's a very different landscape. And like in some ways it's good, but in some ways it's bad. And like I love talking to the community. One of my favorite things actually is seeing new people play Guild Wars 2. Those are my favorites. Like, see their first impressions because they're always excited. I feel like there's just some segment of the community that like it feels like no matter what ArenaNet ever does, they're always going to be like, that sucks.
Yeah, and you're going to have that in any game.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in MMO, right?
Right. And that's part of my problem with all the social things is I feel like that sucks voices get amplified more than the, hey, this is great voices, which can be frustrating.
And I feel like at a certain point, I think it was like pre Heart of Thorns or maybe right when Heart of Thorns launched, the negativity in the community kind of like a tidal wave came in, and it like the Guild Wars 2 community, and even like pre Guild Wars 2 when Guild Wars 1 and the hype for it, like it was very positive. And I even looking at like the wave of content creators, the people who like started when the game first came out, and then like who was left by the time Heart of Thorns came out. I was actually having a conversation with Inks about it. It's like crazy how like the only people, the OGs for content creators are pretty much Bog Otter and Wooden Potatoes. That's it. Those are the two who were like the original wave. And then like all like it's nuts. And yeah, like I feel like this wave of negativity kind of hit the community, and I think it's better now, but like for a while it was just like ain't like everyone being critical of ANET, and like I wasn't on board with that. I was kind of like came to their defense a lot, and then I became very critical of them. Like it kind of like enveloped me, and I was like, ANET, come on.
Well, it's the Heart of Thorns, like, so to understand my feelings on this, I never wanted expansions. I never, ever, ever wanted expansions. I was very in the never do expansions. Like, please, God, don't, because I deal with that with WoW all the time.
Yeah.
I really like the way they've done the expansions, that said. But Heart of Thorns in particular, I felt like really divided the community a lot because
Yeah, I'd
it
agree.
was a different kind of game style. Like the zones themselves were much harder to get around in, which is what they were going for because you're like going in this dragon's territory. It shouldn't be like just wandering around the rest of the world, which like I liked that, but a lot of people who just like wandering around and exploring and don't like constantly being attacked by stuff hated that. And then you added raids and like the whole mastery system and all of that. And I feel like that's really where a lot of the divisions and fracturing of the community started. As much as I love that expansion, I really did. But like that's my feeling about where a lot of those issues started. And I don't know how to fix them. No idea at this point. But
Right. That's kind of always been my thing. Like I kind of started becoming very critical and negative at the end of Hot. And it's kind of like I really liked Heart of Thorns. And then we got to the end of it and I was like, this verticality gimmick is killing me, man. We got to stop with this. I was just like, this is a joke. Like I've been through this zone so many goddamn times and I'm sick of it. Like I'm sick of Tangled Depths. Like don't even want to touch that place. And yeah, I just became
oh man,
what a mess.
I remember the moment when I finally knew where I was going in Tangled Depths, and I was so proud of myself. I was like, I know this
2 months.
map.
I'm looking forward to
Took
that
me
day
2 months.
someday.
It took me a year. Like
Yeah, I
literally,
think it's
it was
Tangled
like
Depths.
a year. I hated that zone. Oh my god.
Yeah, and then we got to Path of Fire, and then the same thing kind of happened where like everything was good for like a few months, and then we get to the end of the content, and then we're kind of like going back and doing stuff, and it's just like this is boring / not good.
Well, and I think that's always a problem in any MMO because the community will always devour content way faster than it can be created. Like it doesn't
Oh,
matter
for sure.
what things you put into place to make new content easier. It takes way longer to make something than to use it. It's a problem, and that balance has been a constant struggle. I don't know how to fix that either, but yeah. I feel like over time the community has gotten less tolerant of that, which I can understand because like, world versus world, we've been waiting on, the alliance system and all of that for how long now, you know?
Right.
That's coming with the expansion.
Right. And then like raids, they were pretty good on new raids pretty regularly at first, but those have died down,
And then I was like, this is too much. That's what I was saying at one point. I was like,
right.
God, I was like another raid. And when I was hardcore raiding, maybe the opinion is a little different, but I kind of got to a point where raiding was the only reason I played Guild Wars 2, and I would just like stop releasing raids so I can stop raiding.
Wow.
That's what kind of happened.
Like that's the hard thing about raids is like getting the sweet spot between like enough people doing it enough time that they're ready for a new thing or like releasing it too soon or having way too long of a wait. Like there's a narrow window in there. It's
Very,
really hard to
yeah.
hit. And especially I feel like with their raids they try to make each one very different. Like the mechanics and the bosses and like how you get around in there, like each one has a very unique feel to it, and I feel like that makes it even harder for them to make new raids than if they're just going into this building and fight this boss and that boss.
Do you
Like
think WoW doesn't do that? Since I know you play retail, and
I would say, I'll say not as much because I was going to say all those other games do have a gear treadmill to slow people down, whereas this,
Yeah.
really don't. It's
WoW
mechanic based.
so WoW puts new skins on things a lot. Like everything will look different, the general layout will be different, but there's bosses and like even in this last expansion, we're like, oh, this boss is like this boss in the previous expansion with this small thing added or something like that. There's a lot of that.
Right. Okay.
Every now and again, they add something new, and we're like, oh God, what is this? And it takes everybody a minute to learn it, but for most of the bosses, it's like, "Oh, this is similar to that thing," you know?
Mhm.
But that's also partially because it's a 15-year-old game. They've been making raids for that long, like
There's so many ideas you can have.
right, yeah, there's only so many things that you can mix it up, and also, like, the raider mentality is, like, we want variety, but we don't want too much variety, because if you make it too out of the box, everybody hates it because they're like, "What is this shit?"
Right. And
You
I,
know?
I, I
Yeah.
can agree with that perspective. It's a little toxic, but I get it.
Yeah.
That's always
So
what discouraged me. I used to raid in WoW, and then eventually it would be like Arlie was saying, you get to like this big hallway with all this stuff. You're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? They're like, just tank and spank. Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
See, and
Yeah.
I think take the opposite of that concept. And for me, Doom was like this boss for rating that was just like, this guy's fucking impossible. Like our group struggled on him for like months, and it
Mhm.
sucked the energy out. Like he was sucking the energy out of me when I
Right.
was. And like it led to me like I after I stopped raiding and my raid team kind of like dissolved, I stopped playing for like a year and a half daily, and then I recently picked the
Yeah.
game back up, and I'm taking the content at my own pace and like enjoying it. I'm not playing it to keep in the know, like I'm just playing it because I want to play it again,
Right.
and I'm doing it at my
That's
own
good.
pace and speed, and I'm having a lot more fun with it than I did. Was like, oh, patch day, gotta play, gotta do all this in like one day, gotta be in, gotta be in the conversation. Like now I just do what I want, essentially.
Yeah.
no,
That's something a few times for my raid group in WoW is that, difficulty balance is usually pretty good. Like it's like a pretty general slope as you get further, it gets harder and harder, which is fine. But every now and again in their difficulties will be like all over the place. And like sometimes the end bosses of a raid will be way harder than anything else in the raid. And it feels unbalanced. It makes you feel even worse that you're spending months working on this boss. There have been, I can think of 5 bosses off the top of my head that my guild, when we finally killed them, we never went back to them. We're like,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
It's terrible. Like we
yeah,
got it done, we're done.
yeah. I
And
mean,
like balance there again is really hard to hit, you know?
right. Yeah, for Guild Wars 2, that was Hall of Chains. Like that dungeon, or sorry, that raid, I think was
Mhm.
just like unfairly hard. And like some people were like, "No, it's just a mechanic fight." And it's like, dude, like it's fucking hard. Like
Right.
I like okay, like it may be like real, maybe it's just like too mechanically well put together that like you have to be so precise about things that
Mhm.
just like it's not fun anymore. Like I don't know. I'm not probably not the one to ask, but like
Right.
that's what that raid killed me like
Yeah.
inside. It really
Mm.
did.
well, and
Yeah.
it
Like
seems
there's
like we're very
go
much
ahead.
coming from a PVE community perspective, which it definitely seems like it's very fractured
Right.
in that sense, because kind of like
Right.
how even Kroof was saying earlier, it's like you have done like just group content alone PVE wise, you had dungeons, fractals, and raids, and strike missions with that. So, and I would say there's a community in each of those that's
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's I mean,
Malfanis
I
and
think
Age, if they were here, would give us the World v World PvP perspective, but
well, I was
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
say, I guess, I mean, do you guys have any familiarity with it, or what are your thoughts from the
I
outside?
have
Because I know we've
familiarity
all
with the
had
PvP
those. Oh, good.
with it. Well, in terms of the general PvP, I used to play PvP ranked, like to kind of like get to the best strength that I possibly can. And at least to answer the question, like going back to the Reddit post, I think the communities function and behave in drastically different ways from
Yeah.
PvE to PvP to World versus World. I
Yeah.
think
Oh yeah.
PvP is probably the most toxic area of gameplay
I could
because
agree with that.
it's so focused on, well, any competitive nature already like
There's going to be a
It
kind of
little
sows
element
this,
to
sows
fighting.
Yeah.
this seed for
Yeah.
toxicity.
Breeding. Yeah.
But especially for Guild Wars 2's combat system and their cadence of balance and their game design when it comes to I guess the overall gameplay, it becomes so fine-tuned that if you're not playing the best possible build, you are a hindrance to the rest of your team because there's
Well,
also a 5v5 scenario.
Also
Yeah.
in the PvP arena, like you get all the metas and like everybody's running specific things. And if you're running something different, I've noticed like because I always run Reaper on my Necro. I really like that spec. And there was a
That's so
period
much
of
fun.
time. I know they're so fun. I know like people are like, oh, they're good now. But there was a period of time when I was doing this that they were like, you should be Scourge. What's wrong with you? What are you doing? Like,
And I think it was like
would
that for
yell
PvE
at
as
me.
well. Reaper just
Yeah.
became like absolute
Yeah.
shit. And it was just
Mhm.
like, what do we do?
And even Chet's
Right.
bring up a good point of like that I didn't even consider is we're talking about like the things that are established by Guild Wars or by ArenaNet, but they're even talking about Guild versus Guild, which is basically established in like as a subset where in like World of World, like, but it's like its own separate community that, you know.
I don't even know. I have not done anything with that. So
Yeah, I personally
Yeah,
never
neither
have
have I.
been
And I-
in a Guild versus Guild, but I mean, I know
gonna
that
say,
there's, there's
is
a
it
big
popular?
community behind. There's
I know
quite
a
a
lot
few,
of people
yeah.
really wanted a place where they could do that for a long time. I have no idea
Right.
how often people actually do it.
Yeah, I remember in World v World, off to the side, I forget if it was in a specific battlegrounds, but off to the left where
Yeah.
this windmill was, is where
Mhm.
people GVG'd.
Yes.
I
Well,
remember that back
then they
in the day.
eventually added the what was the place underneath the Stone Mist Keep?
Obsidian Sanctum.
Obsidian Sanctum. Like they added like a big arena in there, so it was
Mhm.
out of the way. And then
I
didn't
kind of forgot about that place.
At least with World versus World, from an individual standpoint, viewing the community, with World versus World, there are so many people where you don't feel as pressured to necessarily conform to the best builds because you
Right.
do have more people to rely on. But with
Mhm.
PvP in particular, its competitive nature and its small size, you have to be on your A game. With
Right.
PvE, there is I don't think it's necessarily competitive nature. You still have to kind of follow along with certain raid, criteria and
Mhm.
builds to some extent, but there's a little bit more leeway on how you actually go about and play.
Right. Because like the difficulty isn't set so high that everybody has to literally be playing the best thing perfectly. Like that's
Yeah.
not where it's
Right.
at.
You know, it's funny. The counter to that would be since I've been back, I've noticed the elitism in strikes.
Yeah.
Some of those groups, man,
Kid
I've gotten
mama.
kicked from a group because I guess I didn't
You
hit
got kicked from a group?
because I guess
Oh
I
my
didn't
God.
hit DPS marker, and I was
Wow.
like,
on a strike.
I
In
thought
a
it
strike?
I thought
Yeah.
it was a joke. I thought it was a Reddit forum meme. I went into a strike and they were literally kicking people for not meeting DPS requirements, for not having
Yeah.
enough boon up time. I'm like, you guys, this can be done with 4 people. It's not that
Right.
deep. Like, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry we didn't kill this 20 seconds faster than you wanted, Mary, but chill out.
Well, like the
I
Yeah.
don't
whole idea
understand
of
that.
strikes is like raiding with training wheels for people to get
Yeah.
people in doing a bigger, larger group thing
Now-
so that they might consider, hey, maybe I want to
Though
raid.
honestly, I think the problem with that is there weren't raids accompanying those because then all the raiders just went to strike missions because it's new content. So
right.
now you've just filled all the people that are probably slightly more irritated that they don't have new
Mhm.
raids, and it's like you're not pulling your weight. It's like
Yeah.
it's like why are you
So
doing a
they took
handstand on
the
a bike with training
established
wheels?
mentality. Exactly. They took the established mentality and transferred it to kiddie wheels and the
Wow.
area for it's like you took college students and threw them into kindergarten because that was the only time
Mhm.
that they could get an education.
And,
It's like
and
there's
they're,
not
and they're
it's
like
not matching.
they're like turning to that kid going, I told you it was a circle. What? It's like
You're like,
really,
oh,
Yeah.
dummy.
really.
2 plus 2 equals 4, and what? Get out of here,
It's
son.
like star
I
cube
told you
into
the
like
caterpillar
like-
was hungry in your face.
I can read, bitch, and it doesn't work well.
Yeah,
I
that's
found
crazy.
Watto like that. I'm having too much fun with this.
Yeah, I was gonna say stop there. Oh
Too
my
many
god.
cycles.
But honestly, and I don't know if this would ever get back to the person or someone else is, curious about the community. It does seem like we just said a lot of negative, like, oh, it must be the worst community ever. Granted, there's still League of Legends.
Much good in the community though.
Well, but I was gonna say, I think there are good people in each section. Like, I mean, we talk about when Malthanis does 0 to Hero on this channel. QED's been like kind of coaching him, helping him. Like we were talking last week, like there's raid groups that specify in new players. I'm assuming that extends to strike missions as well. There's always, people I think that help people in fractals, and like I think there are good people in the community. Unfortunately, the risk of like any game, I would say, is if you're pugging, you're more than likely gonna find some kind of jerk of some sort. But I don't think that's a unique thing to Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
Right.
I did get yelled at in World versus World once for playing just straight Ranger, because I don't like the Ranger elite specs. So I'm still like 100% straight Ranger. And they were like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm shooting.
I don't
people with
understand
my
that either.
bow.
But if I were to kind of like instill a message into new players, and it kind of like piggybacks off of yours, you have to be very careful venturing out into other social medias that cover Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
Because that is where established individuals in the community and who have played it, that's where they talk about the problems and what they want. And when you kind of get this extreme mixture of talking about problems and talking about what people want, it's bound to be an area of conflict. And I think it's kind of to the fault of the new player going to these areas. Granted, they don't know that it's going to be kind of a toxic place, but ultimately, I think the best thing to do is to kind of play the game solely by yourself and enjoy that gaming experience. And then once you become kind of established with your own thoughts about the game, that's when you can kind of start going out and interacting with other people on Reddit or on Twitter or on forums.
Well, I think there's also the problem of like very often people feel like if there's criticism, that means they hate the game. And if they like a game, they can't criticize it. There's a lot of people, I feel like, forget there's a middle. You can love something and still see the problems with it and be like, well, this could be better or whatever.
Yeah, the internet tends to be very all or nothing.
Yes, very polarizing.
But I do think that the Guild Wars 2 community does not really conduct themselves well. Often, like the people who are the most grading and get such a strong reaction are the ones that get the most upvotes or likes, and that's the only thing you're seeing.
But that's not, I was gonna say that's also not just a Guild Wars 2 thing. I feel like that's often across Reddit in general. Like the people who are like, "Raw, blah 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 blah." Everybody's like, "Yeah, that," and the people are like, "I'm so happy." They're like, "No,
upvote."
Yeah,
and kind
it
of
kind of translates to a more general conduct of the internet.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, I think maybe that's why, like Robin, you were saying earlier, of like people seek out like the new person playing, especially if they're streaming or maybe doing a series or whatever, because people maybe we're just so jaded with it. It's like, I want to live like I remember playing Guild Wars 2 day one, where it's just like, oh my god, everything's magical and stuff, and now it's like, I have to log in and there's
like that's the other thing I always try to imagine of, like, as a new player now, like if you're stepping into the game as a new player now, there is so much content for you to go and do and experience, and the many layers of the game that, like, just having that there waiting for you from day one must be amazing. But also I feel like maybe it's overwhelming a bit,
Oh yeah. Excuse me, I couldn't imagine jumping into this game and know nothing. I like the concept is just like I don't even know how to like think about it.
Right. Well, I had a friend who started recently and he said he had a level 80 boost, and I was like, do not use it.
Wait,
Just
really?
let it sit there. Yeah, because he bought one of the expansions when he bought the whole thing. And so he had an 80 boost. And I was like, do not use it. Just level a character for like a while until you feel good. If you hit 80, great. But like get familiar with the game and the systems and the way things work. And then if you want to use it on another character or if you haven't hit 80, do it then. But I feel like
Yeah,
as a brand new character out of the box, making a level 80 character is just
it's
like,
stupid.
whoa, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I
Throwing
think
everything
WoW
at you
does
at
the same
once.
thing, right? Did it?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Boost to level 60 and you're skip
Yeah.
like everything. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
kind
which
of
is
going off
great
of
as
like,
an established player, but for new
Right.
players, it's terrible idea.
Yeah, like I couldn't be bothered to go back and level a character in Guild Wars 2 right now. I've done those zones so much to death and it's just like nothing's new, so not gonna bother.
I love leveling.
I love it
Huh?
too. Leveling is one of my favorite parts of an MMO, but like I've just done it so much and like nothing's really changed. Where
Yeah.
like I guess
Right.
if you're comparing it to something like WoW, like leveling in Cataclysm, those original zones sort of changed. Like nothing's really changed besides Keswick
Right.
Hills.
Right.
Like, so it's just like it's the same experience. So that kind of sucks.
yeah, I kind of agree with Chad, and I think we've always said this in the past. Is like I feel like if you would buy the like most recent expansion or something, it should backfill like the living stories, like
Yeah.
especially if it's
Yeah, but
like at least in like if you bought like the deluxe or like a higher tier, maybe throw it in there or
Yeah.
Right.
something.
mhm.
Especially that.
Because
That
yeah,
would be
it
a
is
great
one of those.
idea.
Yeah, it is one of those things where it's like you're
Especially for
playing
End of
and it's yeah, it's like it breaks it up. You don't get the full story, but yeah, it's and yeah, like Chad's saying, especially with the upcoming Steam release but honestly,
Which I can't wait to check out the Steam reviews.
but
That
I
actually would be
I'm
pretty interesting.
scared.
but then see that's the funny thing.
I'm
Like
scared
when
if
you
it's
guys
just going
were
to be a bunch of bombing.
when you guys were talking about like leaving the game, I think that's what a lot of people like realize, especially the veteran players that leave Guild Wars 2 and then eventually you come back, is then they go play another MMO and they realize a lot of this good stuff Guild Wars 2 does. Like, hey, here's this ore node. Oh, I'll fight this enemy. And oh, this guy just took it. Oh, that's no problem. I'll still fight the guy and you kill it. It's like, hey, where's that ore? No. Oh, yeah. No, we're not in Guild Wars 2.
Literally me. I played Classic
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
in
Oh, buddy.
May
How'd the therapy go?
for like 3 months, and then I got to a point where it was like, God, this fucking game, man. like it's a love-hate relationship with Classic,
It's
and then I
nostalgia.
kind
Yeah.
of maybe look at Guild Wars 2, and it's like,
Yep.
this shit is just like some of this stuff is not aged well. Like
I mean,
really
you don't
hasn't.
even
Like
have to
this
look-
is a struggle.
I mean, you don't even have to look at a game that technically launched in 2005. I mean, Elder Scrolls Online that launched pretty close to it, they still have nodes where it's one for one. Like you have, if you see it, you
Yeah.
better run towards it or you're gonna,
Mhm.
it's like, it's still not a common place in MMOs and like,
Yeah, it never feels good when MMOs reflect how the real world society works
yeah,
Yeah.
because we all hate it.
exactly.
We want to get lost in this like true communistic where everything has equal chance of getting things and competition is good in some areas, but like when it's a video game
Yeah.
and nothing really matters, it's just grating for no reason.
I was gonna say this day, I think that's one of my favorite things about Guild Wars 2 is if I'm out running around the world, I am never upset to see another player. I am never like,
Yeah.
you freaking go away, get out of here. This is mine. Come here." I'm just like, oh, cool. It's another person. Hey, they're fighting that thing. Let me help. It's just whatever.
Yeah,
It's
I
so
love that
nice.
too. And I think
Yeah,
that was like one of the main reasons that drew me to the game in the first place and
Yeah.
drew many people too.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
definitely.
blew my mind when I first started playing and I realized that somebody was getting a node and it was still there and I could also mine
Yeah.
it. Like my brain exploded. I was like, holy shit. I
Now-
didn't know that was
now, was
possible.
your first reaction like, oh, they must have just left the stuff there? Like,
Yep. I was like, maybe they left one hit for me. That was nice. It was very like my brain was like, oh my God, how is this possible?
Yeah, no, like every once in a while, like I'll play Elder Scrolls Online, and like when there's like a treasure chest in the world or something, and I'm fighting, like of course there's an enemy that hits you while you're trying to get it. You're fighting. I see someone
Of
coming in.
course.
I'm like, blow all my cooldowns. I need to kill this thing before they see the chest. Like,
Yep. They're like, no.
or you try to
Yeah,
do that
it's
thing
nice
where
not
if they
having
do
that.
get to the item, you try to kite the enemy, be like, enemy, cast an AOE so you hit them too. Like, come on.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
Oh.
Good
So-
times.
So yeah, I think that's the important thing is, and I think that's kind of proof how you were saying, like if you look at a veteran content creator where they're just talking about maybe the stuff that they would want, it might sound like they're just like, oh, they literally are just wanting things. There must be nothing in the game. It's like, no,
Right.
we're just
Yeah.
all used to it, unfortunately.
Which
But,
there are
We've
people
all
out
taken it
there
upon
that
ourselves to be developers.
right. There are people out there who are just always like there's no content, and I always like want to shake them because I'm like there's no content that you want to do because like maybe there's one or two people out there who have literally completed everything you can complete in the game, but there's not that many, you know? Like it's fine if you don't want to do that other content, but it still exists. And you should still recognize that fact, you know? It's like
Mhm.
Yeah.
misleading. Drives me crazy.
Yeah. But any final thoughts on community in Guild Wars 2?
It's the best. Woo!
Hey, at least we're
Taking
not blessed.
Advil.
I think if I have to say anything in like closing thoughts, I think like the more you dig, the more like you're probably gonna find something that like might deter you. So maybe don't
Right.
dig too much. Like
Yeah.
especially on Reddit, right? Like that
Mhm.
that I look through that thread and there's a lot of different opinions,
Mhm.
whether it be positive or negative. It's like just go into the game. I don't think you need to do that much research, especially if you like. It sounds like you want to play it, right? Like if you're on Reddit,
Right.
like asking people about it, like that's a pretty interesting like position to be in. I
Yeah.
would just say jump in. Like you don't need to
Especially-
do all that.
Especially now that the base of the base game is free. I mean, just hop in.
Right.
And I think
Yeah.
if you want to avoid Reddit forums and stuff like that, maybe the
Use
best.
my link.
What's that?
Use your link.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
Use my link to help support it.
Yeah, there's a lot of content. Yeah, if there's an arena that partnered, when you get it, definitely use one of their links. And since we have Kroof here, use her link
Yeah.
Wow.
because all the other ones didn't show up. So yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Shame, wooden potatoes. Shame. Just kidding.
Hi,
No,
all
I'll
wooden
never do
potatoes
one.
people in the comments section.
Yeah.
Wow. I love wooden potatoes. I love them. I love them.
Can we turn on ads for just one show? Because if everybody's trickling in for that, we might as well get like a nickel for it.
There you go.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, ultimately I would say if you are taking like Anthony's advice of like avoiding the forums and Reddit and any of that stuff, because yeah, you're gonna get a lot of angry people and some happy people, but probably mostly angry. But honestly, if you want to find a guild or a community or something like that, hey, if you're doing something in particular, like you're running dungeons or raids, if you're starting to see the same names or something, reach out to them. Maybe they are part of a raid group or a dungeon group or something. You know, get your foot in the door that way. Because a lot of times, I think the worst part is, and this happens in every game, where people are like looking for a guild. All right, I'll just people just invite people. It's like, well, what does that guild do? What is like, or do you guys have any similar interests that instead of the only interest so far we know is you were looking for a guild, they had a guild. That's
Right.
probably not a good basis for a relationship, but I'm just trying to ship people over here. Leave me alone. But yeah, so you know, definitely check out the Guild Wars 2 community. I don't know where I was going with that one. But hey, maybe if you're enjoying yourself, maybe you want to throw some money in ArenaNet so they can maybe put it towards more content. And you can do that with the gem store. So this past week we got 2 new items in the gem store, and they were, as you can see here, the cat ear hood for 400 gems.
Yay!
And Wow. And the Tiger Insignia axe skin for 600 gems. And so they are skins.
Nice.
So for people that aren't aware, or maybe you're new to Guild Wars 2 in the gem store, these are just skins. They're not going to give you a statted item. But like the helmet, it will unlock light, medium, and heavy, so you can wear it no matter what character you want.
I like how the axe leaves like a tiger striped tail, like trail on it. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I did not realize that's what it was until you said that.
Really?
I thought that was just part of the char. I thought it was just more clipping or something. I don't know.
Two tails now?
I love that ArenaNet are no longer holding themselves back and are making every weapon set legendary equivalent.
Right. Yeah.
Just adding, I mean, I'm very lenient and cautious about how many particle effects and crazy colors they put in. But as long as they're like consistent with the colors, like the theme of the universe, I love that they're just like particle effects. This has an effect. This has an effect.
I think at
So
this
I'm
point
excited.
the main difference between legendary skins and not legendary skins is legendary skins give you unique footfalls, right?
Yeah.
Like they all do that. I don't think any of the ones you can buy do that. So that's fine. I'm fine with that being like the defining thing. Whatever.
I'll say weirdly, yes, the weapons in the gem store, I don't think any of them do that. But as you were saying that, because I know we were talking the other day about the Halloween stuff that some stuff's returning. What is it? The one where it's like a ghostly head, but it's like knight armor type thing, or like almost like a Templar armor. That actually has like footfalls on it, so it's like.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure it has like ghostly like hands or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
But
interesting.
weirdly, the outfit has footfalls, whereas.
But not the weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Chad, if I'm mistaken on that, like I said, it's been a while since I've actually equipped that, but I'm pretty
If
sure. If
Deo's mistaken, yell at him and tell him you hate him.
Okay, chat is saying they only show up when stationary, so. Because you're outrunning them.
That's interesting. Right. Right.
Yeah.
But also, chat was saying
Gotta tie it to the lore.
Yeah. Chat was also saying they need the cat hood without ears. Apparently, it's the only one that has hair with it. Well, I think they want it because the infamous, you equip your helmet and your hair disappears. It goes to the mist.
Yep. Drives me crazy. Absolutely crazy.
What's even
I
worse?
love your hair just disappears.
What's even worse for some still for the Norn, when you have a beard, you just magically get shaven. Like.
Yeah, I'll never forget my ranger when I first put on like a hat with a feather. I was like, oh, I'm like Robin Hood, woo! And then I was like, wait, is her hair just like tied up in the hat? That's kind of cool. Then I looked closer and was like, oh no, the hair's just gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Yeah.
But
sad.
So yeah, that's the two new items that came this week. But some of returning stuff. Raiment of the Lich you could get for 30% off. Executioner's outfit 30% off. Witch's outfit 30% off. The branded mounts pack, the llama finisher, rainbow unicorn finisher, choya finisher, the cosmic harvesting tool, mining tool, and logging tool for 40% off. The faux fire armor package for 25% off, and also the faux fire mantle wraps and greaves at 20% off individual.
You know what? I wish you could have multiple finishers set as your active finisher, and it would just rotate between them. Because for me, it would be the llama, the unicorn rainbow, and super adventure box all the time.
Oh yeah, because I think didn't they add a way you could random it, but it does all of yours.
Right. It's
Yeah. But they added that favorite mechanic for the black line trading post. They could maybe add a favorite for finishers.
That would be awesome. Oh my god.
You know what? That's what Apex Legends did to rotate through stuff. Like you can favorite skins and it rotates through that.
Oh, just automatically?
Favorite selection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like what WoW does with the mount and the pet. There's in the new collectibles, there's each one has a button you can put on your bars that will do a random pet or mount, but
Oh,
only
did
from the
they?
ones you mark as favorites.
I
Yep.
used to have a macro to do that, and boy,
Yep.
was that annoying.
Yep.
So I'm
I
glad they
know.
added that in. Yeah, but is there any of the
So
returning items
internet,
that you
get
would?
on that.
Yeah, is there any returning items you guys would recommend, like for people to?
I like the
Llama
faux
and
fire stuff.
unicorn.
Yeah, like the faux fire stuff is pretty like lore y.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like those as well. I would personally recommend none of it. Just kidding. Maybe the branded mount pack. Maybe
Branded
the
mount
branded
pack.
mount
Yeah, the
pack.
branded
cool. Yeah.
mounts look pretty good.
You get a lot of mounts. They're all crystalline and crackly,
Mhm.
and
And you can still like dye them, so you can make different kind of
yeah,
crystalline colors and stuff. It's cool.
That was one of the few that I was thinking of like getting, just because I was like, it dyes beautifully. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was also probably
Really?
going to
Okay.
recommend the faux fire stuff. Just it I think it's a good bridge between like wow ridiculous and like still somewhat realistic, because basically it has like candles on the shoulders, but the shoulders aren't like giant.
Huge.
It still looks realistic. The wraps, if you're looking, it's like almost like magical bindings type thing. They're
Yeah.
really
Right.
nice looking.
Now I'm hungry.
Oh, wraps.
Oh,
I was
Wraps.
like,
Yum.
I love
Cool.
eating fabric. I'm a moth.
That explains so much.
That's where my socks are going with.
oof. I don't know
But yeah,
how
buy all
to.
the
AO
things if you're rich.
silent. Yay.
But
If
yeah,
you're rich, buy all the things. Do it.
yeah. If you can, if you like them, I mean, I like the cosmic.
If you're
like,
Jeff Bezos,
oh, that'd be interesting. I wonder if Jeff Bezos plays this. He gets all the ideas and takes them to New World. That's what he's doing. He's stealing ArenaNet's ideas.
No.
God,
Yeah.
Exclusive. No, that's
You
not
heard it here
exclusive.
first.
Don't. Yeah. Jeez.
rip Crucible.
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
I
have
don't-
we moved on from poor Wildstar to poor Crucible?
I have a funny story about
still on
Crystal
Bless.
maybe for the pre-show or for the after
Because I like
show.
going.
Post show.
I like going. Bless them.
Yeah.
And all
Bless
them-
Online.
Yeah.
Bless Unchained.
Oh yeah. They come
Is it
back.
called
Anyway.
Bless Unleashed?
Oh,
Yeah, that's it.
Bless
Unleashed.
Unleashed.
I was like, wait, did it go through like multiple names? I was like, I didn't know that.
It did. It was Bless Online, and then it was Bless Unleashed.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It was like also like Bless Stormblood or not Stormblood,
Nah,
but
it's
like
Final Fantasy
Storm of
14.
something.
I
Yeah.
don't know. But
I don't
you
know.
know, I think the reason, Wildstar, like we're talking about Wildstar and Bless and all of them, probably didn't do as well was they didn't have a good community around them. Speaking of community, let's talk about Community Corner. So, and this first one actually kind of fits with a lot of the stuff we've been talking about throughout the day of like, where's this content? When's this content? Doing this stuff like, and kind of like what you guys were saying before of, you hate when people say there's nothing in the game for me to do. It's like, no, that you don't want to do anymore. So maybe for people that are coming into Steam, like if you want to show your friends maybe the layout of it, the Reddit user Finn FYNN 1995 actually put out a little chart, and I know they did one, I think it was last week or something, that a lot of people were giving tips and like other things that they thought of. So this is kind of the updated version, but you can kind of see the little layout here of they basically put level from 1 to 80, and then end game technically, and then kind of the different game formats. And now I'm kind of wondering, I have to go in there, did they add guild versus guild? Because like I said, I didn't even think of that when Chad even mentioned it, but that's technically another aspect, because they don't just that's what I liked about it. They didn't just do like War v World PvP, like the basic things. Like they even put like role playing in there as like, something you can kind of do anytime. And so I'll have
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a nice little handy guide, and shows you guys, like you guys were saying before, just how much content, and just looking at that chart, it is pretty daunting. And I've played, but I played through that stuff, and I still am like looking at it going, holy crap.
Yeah.
That's a lot of damage.
But yeah, so definitely check that out if you, or maybe if you have a friend that maybe is getting into it with Steam, or or just starting out, and they're like, well, I made it to level 10, what else is there in the game? They're like, well,
Meanwhile.
Meanwhile,
but also on Reddit, someone made a little fun thing that I thought was quite good. The Reddit user, hello, my name is _Tom. They made a raid character name generator, and so basically you go there. I'm sure you've seen this before. I don't know if anybody else has dabbled when they could not think of a like character name, and you're like, oh, I'm making a dwarf, so let me look up Google dwarf name generate, so you can get something that's like in the realm of
right.
And well, this one's based off of basically those weird raid names that people come up with that you just look at and go, basically it's a comment of like the game or whatnot. And some of the ones people got throughout chat were dude stole my fiery greatsword, IDPS race simps, no might for uwu, and and out DPS by Chrono. So I don't know, it's a fun little
it's nice and memey.
Yes. And here, just in case for chat, I'll throw in the guide thing, or the little chart, and also let me give you guys that as well. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube or whatnot, links will be in the description. But yeah, if you want to go have fun, maybe you need to make your new raid character name for all those elite strike missions, by the sounds of it. See, actually, maybe that's why you got kicked. You didn't have one of these good names.
Yeah.
You ever think of that? Yeah. Did you ever think of that? Maybe you needed that.
It is a qualifier. It is a very important facet.
They saw your name and they're like, clearly this guy can't pull the DPS.
My Fenrir's Gwynblade wasn't like lore enough. Like, wow, this guy means his business.
Yeah, exactly. You should have been.
They were like, oh, he's a noob.
Yeah, you should have been out DPS by Chrono. They're like, oh, he knows the game.
Yeah.
If I was ever running around with a character like a name like that, you'd have to kill me.
I also would be very
my immersion.
My immersions.
Oh boy. I'm right there with you. I probably couldn't do any of those names, but it's a funny little thing. But also like we were talking about Halloween, it's not just Guild Wars 2 event. People have community events have also sprung up. The King and Queens Halloween 2020 event. I remember we talked about these the last couple of years, so and they say they've been doing this since Guild Wars 1, so definitely check it out. But kind of the lore-ish behind it type thing. I'm using it lightly because I don't want people to think this is actual lore established by ArenaNet. Yeah, but it's kind of their oing RPing stuff. So, but
it's like fan fiction.
Exactly. So the Snowman King, on behalf of Her Majesty MAAD Queen Malefied, I don't know, cordially invites you all to attend this grand Halloween caper. They said that they're going to be doing costume contests, live in-game bands, which honestly, going back to the community thing, that's one thing once again, another thing that, we have like minstrel guilds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fan favorite activities that I guess, people have come to know and love from them. So definitely, check it out. Should be a, fun event. And maybe if you're just starting the game, it might be a good place to meet like-minded people, just kicking back, having fun if you're just looking for that kind of experience. And also, we've talked about previously, Pink Day in LA 2020. They did their Quag and Waddle previously, but they already raised some money for cancer research. But Pink Day in LA is actually happening October 17th at 12 p.m. CDT for NA and EU. They do have open invites for streamers to help with the event. It will take place in Lion's Arch. They will be using their Gwen radio and their donation links on the website, which let me throw that in chat just in case. But they do say that they will have donation prizes and like for the prize pool and stuff like that. And even if you're just watching, they'll have like events and stuff like that and prizes. So it's definitely just something to go participate in. And then even if you can't donate, I think we've said this all the time. Hey, if you share the link to other people or just like retweet it, spread the word. That's also helping. You don't have to just throw money at it. It can help, but if during these times, if you're not in that good enough situation to do that, hopefully you don't feel like you have to. But sharing it is probably just as good. But any thoughts on Pink Day in LA or any of the community corner stuff?
I've actually never watched or participated any of the days.
Pink Day in LA has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I remember when I was playing Guild Wars 1 at 12 years old. Pink Day in LA was a thing back then. I'm not sure the exact year, but definitely I know that event is like as long
I
as
remember playing it in Guild Wars 1 a lot.
I'll have to check it out this year.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, a lot of times it just sucks because it's usually on Saturdays when we're doing the show. So
it says open for streamers.
Oh,
we
so
streaming.
Should we do Talking Skritt live from
that'd actually be really
Wait, we go reporting? We go reporting?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
my name is
we'll be the people we'll be the people in the studio. Then we'll be like, let's kick it over to Kroof, who is live at
I am here with You're Not Getting Any. My Uwu, how are you doing today?
Oh, that's
like a nice little.
I'll say that's a little next week. Wow, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's a week away.
Let's get it going, people. Train.
Chat's asking, heard next year at the end will they release Guild Wars 3? That's been a rumor of like people think that's just because we're going to we're going to Cantha the next expansion, which basically dries up any of the Guild Wars 1 like area content. So people are like, oh, clearly we have to move to Guild Wars 3. It's like I kind of
where we do it all over again.
I think there's also part of the thought process on it also is because I don't remember when it was said, but there was a point where somebody asked Mo if what Guild Wars 2 was about, and he said if I could sum it up in one word, I'd say dragons. And now we're going to End of Dragons. So I think that's some of what's powering it's going to be Guild Wars 3, speculation.
I mean, I can see the logic in it, but
yeah,
I still think we'll get stuff.
That's the viewpoint I subscribe to. I'm not gonna go off on a tangent about it, but I'm definitely in the End of Dragons, End of Guild Wars 2 kind of thing.
We can definitely go on that tangent for after show, but
they've kind of confirmed it too that they're not like explicitly stated. And this is not the end of the story.
Yeah, I know, but that's the internet. Hey, I definitely want to argue with you about that on but we'll do that for after show because I think that is
argue. No, this is about debate. This is civil debate. Throw hands.
It's an argument.
Throw some bows, guys.
Yeah.
Wow. Rangers would be very upset with you.
But that is it for this week. So Arlie, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Arlie82. And this week, I will actually be starting streaming for MMORPG again Thursday night and then Sunday morning. Thursday night will be, I think, leveling alts in WoW because the pre-patch will be there. So we'll all be squished down and have the new leveling through expansion stuff. So I'll be doing that. And then Sunday morning, I'm going to play a random game. I haven't decided yet. So.
Awesome. And Kroof, where can they find you?
You can find me at the Santa Monica Boardwalk near the dumpster, where I will be selling spiked lemonade. But if you don't want to come down to LA, you can find me on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter at Kroof and Kroof Gaming.
I think the important question is, will you be wearing a mask?
Yeah, and do you?
Oh yeah, no, I do
schedule
not. We don't mess around with.
Okay.
We don't mess around with Miss Covina. We have to stay vigilant.
Okay, well that's good. At least that's maybe I'll have to. Well, you know me, I don't leave my stoop, so that I'm.
I was
lying.
gonna say. No,
I was like, I didn't even finish it. I was like, that would have been a lie. But
I'll Venmo you the lemonade. It's okay.
fantastic. I look forward to it. And Anthony, where can they find you?
You can follow me at _ the gooch. That is on Twitter and Instagram. You can hear my various hot take opinions on, superhero movies and
Snyder Cut
games and whatever I'm feeling spicy about. You can also follow my podcast at Delco Nerds. If you search Delco Nerd Network on your favorite podcast service or YouTube, you should find us pretty easily.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely when the Snyder Cut releases, that's the first place you should be going.
Oh God!
Because either way, it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be a ride.
And you can find me at simply_Deo on Twitch and Twitter. And I usually stream Monday and Thursdays. Usually Mondays Warframe, Thursdays currently have been kind of Elder Scrolls Online, playing catch up with the story. But yeah, if you are just popping in, do stick around. We do a bit of an after show where I guess we're going to be arguing about the End of Dragons and what that really means.
And Crucible, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you were here for pre-show, you'll gladly know that anything's fair game. Basically, we can go any which way. So it doesn't have to be just Guild Wars 2 stuff. We talk about gaming stuff in general. But yeah. Also, if you want to watch this, we do highlight it on our Twitch, twitch.tv/MAAD Realms, 2 A's in the MAAD. If YouTube's your preferred platform of choice, MAAD Realms on there as well. That goes up on Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Also, we've started doing our streams on Tuesdays, and those uploads go up on Thursdays on our YouTube. But yeah, last week we actually played Among Us, and I think next week we're going to be doing Dauntless, so that should be fun.
Yep.
But yeah, that is it for this week. We'll see everybody next time and in the game. Good night, everybody.